Welcome to the first junior meeting for college planning. My name is Ellen Devine, and I'm going to be working with your children throughout this coming year and all of next year in the process. So this is just the beginning meeting, and hopefully it'll be helpful as you move through the process together as a family. Next slide, please. Okay, so the whole college process is very overwhelming. It can be very stress-provoking, intimidating, scary, all these things. And this is why we do these meetings, and why my office is very open for kids to come in and ask further questions, because I'm going to be providing lots of information. Some of it they will know already, some of it will be new. All of it can be a lot of information to take in. So if we just stay together and work on it, we'll get to the other side. So this is the first step in the very daunting process of deciding where to apply to college and all that is entailed. So we'll go on to the next slide. Okay, so it's very important to take it easy with the process, but still continue to take actions. So use this time during this coming year and the summer to do all the research that's necessary to figure out which colleges you will be applying to, which colleges you're interested in. You may even discover colleges you never considered before, but use this time, from here on. Hopefully some students have already been working on this, but if not, now is the time to start. Waiting until September of senior year is going to make all those things I just spoke about, the feeling of being overwhelmed and fearful, is going to be just multiplied. So you have many months to do your research and to ask questions and to just try to relax your way through the process. And by the time we get to September 2026, it's really important that you have in your minds 10 to 12 colleges that you are convinced are a good fit for you and that you are seriously considering applying to. You want to have at least that number in front of you by September. Okay, next slide, please. So when you look at the overall application process, there are basically 5 different elements to the application. One everyone knows and understands is the grades, the GPA, the particular courses that a student is taking. That's all very important. Not every student knows what they want to major in college, so their course selection can be a bit of a challenge, and that's where having conversations with your guidance counselor, and maybe if you have good relationships with some of your teachers, you can ask questions about possible future careers. We also have in the spring term, we have a couple of College Now classes that go through all this kind of exploration. So I know some of the students have already signed up for that, and that will be very helpful to them. But so at the end of the day, it's not only the grades, but it's the degree of rigor in the courses that are selected, and also depends on the particular college that you're applying to. They may want standardized test scores. During the pandemic era, pretty much they were all kind of put on hold. They're creeping back into the process again. Our students, for the most part, have been submitting their SATs all along, but they had that option to withhold them if they wanted to. That is changing, and they have to, as they're researching their colleges, they have to make sure the particular colleges that they're interested in, what their policy is. Extracurricular activities have always been important, and I know that's something that as a school we encourage from freshman year, for many reasons. One, to acclimate initially. 2, to find out what you're interested in, make friends, and start to establish a resume of activities that you have been involved with. So by this point in time, I'm hoping that everyone has taken that seriously, and that there are doesn't need to be lots of different activities, but 2 or 3 activities that a student has really committed to, and it shows that this is what's important to them, what they enjoy doing, and that they have been involved with this for an extended period of time. It's not a new activity. So that's another element of the process. And then, of course, there's the essay that goes along with every application, the Common App essay, and supplements that every college will have. Mostly. Every now and again, there's a college that has no supplements, but everyone requires that Common App essay. And then, of course, the recommendation letters, counselor letter, everyone gets a counselor letter, and in addition, teacher recommendations. So that is the whole composite of the college application. Next slide, please. Okay, so it's really important. There are somewhere around 4,000 colleges in the United States, and there are many more if you leave the country, which some of our students do. So finding the right fit is very, very important. Just because a college has a good reputation doesn't mean it's the right fit for a particular student. They really have to consider so many different aspects of the college. So when you're looking at colleges, I suggest that there's so much information online that can be confusing. So when you want to know the details of what a particular college is offering and expecting, it's important to go to that college's website, not, to some other site that gives you a synopsis of what it's involved. You have to go to the exact college website to understand fully what they're offering, the types of degrees that are offered, the location. They will all have, wonderful graphics and pictures of everything about their campus. So that's the source to go to. You want to make sure that they offer what you're looking for. If you are interested in engineering, you want to make sure that they have a strong engineering program. If you are looking for a school that has medical programs, advanced accelerated medical programs, you have to do the work to see what schools offer those kind of programs. Also very important is where it's located. How far from home do you want to be? If living in Metro New York, how many hours out? And this is really a family discussion to have, because students might have one thing in mind. And I was just talking to someone about this recently, that they may want to go out to Tennessee, for example. Vanderbilt is an excellent school in Tennessee. And maybe for the parents and the guardians, that's way too far. So have these conversations. Is there a preference to be near a city or in a city? Or would you prefer a more suburban environment or even a rural environment? So these are the kind of things that are important to consider, not just the college, and the reputation, but the location, the size, the student body. And as you dig into their websites, you'll be able to get this information of what is the typical class size. And is it going to be a professor that's teaching you? In some big institutions, they may have graduate students who are working their way through grad school by teaching classes. So that, if that's something that you're not okay with, it's important to know that. If classes are large, 40, 50, 60 students for one professor, that's very large. Of course, there are always the oversized classes for things that everyone must take, and they'll have like 300 students perhaps, but that's not the norm. That would just be for a particular class. So you want to know what's the norm. Is it a 15 to 1, 17 to 1, 20 to 1? And all that information is found on the website. There are public institutions, private institutions with religious affiliations, all these kind of things to consider. And then once you dig through all that and you're looking at the application process itself, there's early decision, restrictive early action, and regular decision. And it's not on here, but early decision, they have an early decision 1, and nowadays some schools also have an early decision 2. Okay. So when you're looking at this college for a fit and you're wondering it, not only do you like it and you're happy about, what it looks like and where it's located and all those wonderful things, but you have to also fit academically for that college. So the thing that I would suggest is that on their website, they will say their last incoming class, the grades were between, I'm going to make this up, they were between 95 and 98 was the norm. And you look at your own GPA and see, do I fit in there? And if you fit in there, then you know that depending on where on the scale you are, it's going to be a target or a safety for you. So these are the things that you start creating a list with. Next slide, please. So this is the big one, cost of attendance. Very often, students will see tuition and think, oh, that's what it costs to attend. So tuition is just the academic end of things. If you are living on a campus in a dorm, then you have those fees too. Room and board is part of the process. Some schools require that students in their freshman year especially live on campus if they're and dorm. And if you're living on campus and dorming, you have to have a food plan. So that's an additional fee. And of course, there are like fees for labs. If you're taking some kind of lab, there'd be lab fees. You have books, traveling back and forth. The further away a school is, the more expensive the travel is. So sometimes when students are far, they're not coming home often. So if you feel like you would like to be able to come home for weekends, then you have to really be mindful how far away your school is. Again, if you're going to be out in California or, up in way up in Buffalo, that's a big trip. And it's not going to be an easy, train ride home or a plane ride home. So those are all things to keep in mind. There's all different types of financial aid offered. There's a lot of need-based loans, financial aid, need blinds, merit-based. These are all, as we move along through the process, we'll talk more about the financial aid end of things. But certainly it's a big consideration because tuitions have continued to rise and it can be quite daunting. And there's not a guarantee that anyone is going to be getting these kind of awards. So you have to really take all this into consideration. Some other things that are important are the credentials of the faculty, as I alluded to before. Or, are they using adjunct professors or they have full faculty members, full professors, associate professors? Who are the people who are going to be teaching you? And student organizations, super important. Even though you're going there for the academics, you're living there potentially. And you want to know that there are things on campus that are going to be interesting to you. Keep you involved when you're not in class. So you want to understand what they have to offer. And all of them offer all nature of things. Some of them have the Greek life. Some of them have, hundreds of clubs, intramural kind of sports, lots of things to research. And some of the students that I have spoken to over the last few years started creating like a spreadsheet online. I'm not a good spreadsheet person, but some of our kids are great at it. And they would, because there's so much information, they would start creating their own little database of things that were important to them and what schools had what. Because after a while, it's hard to keep straight, where you saw something or who is requiring an SAT, for example, and who is not. So just something to think about. You also want to know what kind of facilities they have on the campus. They spend a lot of money trying to make their campuses attractive to students. So sometimes they have great performance spaces, even if you're not going to, major in any theater arts or things like that. There still are these spaces where there's entertainments and, a lot of activities going on that students can be involved in. You want to also understand what the graduation and retention rates are. So in a perfect world, you go to college, you graduate in 4 years, and you move on to whatever is next, whether it's another degree or to work. Doesn't always work that way in college. Sometimes it takes students a little bit longer. The norm is 4 to 5 years to get a bachelor's degree. People sometimes switch majors. It slows down the process. But that is, fairly normal. But if a school is showing you that people are graduating, in 6 or 7 years, then that's a little bit of a different kind of a thing to consider. It kind of impacts the degree of rigor of that school and the type of students that are going there. And you want to see what their retention rates are. Are students staying or are they leaving? And that's something that you can find on the website for the particular school. They'll give that data. Nowadays, everyone has some kind of career placement. They have, whole departments set aside for internship placement and mentoring and all kinds of wonderful things. And a new thing that has been popping up is that you have lifetime access to career placement. If you find yourself after graduation a few years down the road wanting to change your career, you can go back to the college that you graduated from if they have this program, the career placement, and they will help you find a new career. So lots of interesting things. And if sports is something that you're interested in, even if you're not going to play, if you have the desire to be on a campus where you're proud of your team, and they're Division I and they're going to be on television and stuff, and that's important, then keep that in mind as well. Next slide, please. Okay. So there are many ways, aside from what I'm saying, to do your own personal research, which is necessary. But there are ways to get, maybe a wide view of the particular colleges that are available by these college fairs. And there are many of them. And probably the best known would be the Big Apple Fair. And we, of course, have a fair here for our juniors, though. So keep that in mind. Put it in your calendar for the springtime to make sure that you come to our fair, because we always have minimum of 70 colleges and upwards to 80, depending on who's available to come. So it's a good opportunity to meet the reps that are going to be part of the crew that will be reading your applications eventually down the line. And, make yourself known. Make sure that you speak to the reps. You just don't go around gathering information, because first of all, you need to get used to speaking to people and asking questions about your future, and you're the consumer. So they need to kind of sell their school to you. And if you ask them questions, they're going to do their very best to entice you towards them. And at least you can either put them on your list or take them off. So one of my favorite things when I was taking my own children around was the campus visits, which I know is not possible for everyone. But if you are able to visit a campus, it can be a game changer, because something can look wonderful on a website, but when you put your foot on the campus is when you know, the student I'm talking to now, whether or not this is for you. There's just something different. You get to see the people that are on the campus, the students, and if you go at the right times of year while classes are in session, you can stop a student, ask them, how's their experience been? Sometimes on the tours, they'll let you go into different classrooms to sit in for a little bit. It's really a wonderful opportunity for the student and the family together to take a look at the campus. And you can either, again, fall in love with it and add it to the list, or say, you know what, I don't know what it is, but I'm not really comfortable here. And then you don't put it on your list. But either way, if you're able to do it, it's wonderful. A lot of colleges are clustered in different areas. Like if you went to Boston, you would have so many different schools that you could visit. And certainly in New York City, tons of schools that you can visit. And, if you go to Philly, lots of places to visit. So within not too far distance, a couple hours out, you can really see many, many schools and get a feel for what it's really like to be on a college campus. And then, of course, there's always open house kind of things that they do. In the spring, I'm going to be posting all kinds of stuff on the college Google Classroom. That will be, it could be a fly-in events. It could be an open house. It could be a virtual infinite information session, all kinds of things. So, get used to looking at that Google Classroom pretty regularly. And then, of course, in the fall of your senior year, you can look forward to, we invite the reps to come to the school just to speak to you. But at that point, I would hope you have your list solid. And those visits are to really pick the brain of the rep that comes to visit, talking about a school that you are really interested in, not that you're wondering about anymore. By the time we get to those visits, I hope very strongly that you have a solid list. You have that 10 to 12 schools, and you tailor the visits that you go to at during the fall to that list that you have created between now and then. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is just, and again, lots of this is redundant, especially if you have children who have already been off to college and you know this stuff inside out. But for some of our students who are the first ones out of the nest, as I like to say, this could be new. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to review it. So a regular decision is non-binding, of course, and it is, I have to say that it is the typical application submission, but not typical for our school. Typical for our school is the early action and all the earlies, because students just get very anxious. They want to have their answers early. But for the rest of the country, it's very normal to apply regular decision. So it's not a bad thing. And sometimes our top kids will use regular decision kind of as a strategy, because it gives them more time to really do a well put together application, because the early applications are due November 1st. So regular decision starts coming due early January, and they can roll right through February, March, April, May, all the way to the summer. So there's a lot of flexibility with regular in some schools, but the earlies are November 1st. So we come into school in September. If you don't have that list, it's going to be a scramble to figure out what are you going to do, and have it done by November 1st, in a perfect world before November 1st, so that you have not spent the whole couple of months of your senior year working on college applications instead of keeping your grades high, which all of these schools care about too. So the list, I can't stress that enough. That list, you need to come into school with that list in September. These are the schools I want to apply to. Then you will be in a place to say, yes, early action is for me. I know what they want. I am ready to go. It's a non-binding application, but still it's important because you're demonstrating to that school that you are interested enough in them that you are putting the effort in to give them an application early. You are not required to make a decision on that school until May 1st. So you have plenty of time from the point that you get your decision till you make your decision about, yes, I am actually coming. And I'll talk more about that one-on-one with students and the pros and cons of doing too many earlies. Restrictive early action is exclusive to some of the Ivies, Harvard, Princeton, Yale type of schools. Instead of using early decision, now they use restrictive early action. They prefer that you pick one of them, which is why they move to this restrictive early action, but they don't want to bind you to it. So if you know that you really want to apply, say, to Princeton, and it's a dream for you and you really want to do it, and you're willing to adhere to the restrictions, which say no other private schools early, nothing non-binding, nothing binding. And the only exception would be to a city or a state institution. You could do early action, but no private institutions, either early decision or early action. So it's highly restrictive, but if you're interested enough, it may be something that you want to do. The good news is that it's non-binding, which you'll see as I proceed. I get very nervous with the early decision, which is so popular with our students. Early decision 1 and early decision 2. They're both binding. It's a contract. Student signs a contract. Parent or guardian signs a contract. And I'm the final one to sign that contract. And we all agree that we understand that if the student is accepted, they will go to that school. So it's a very big deal. I refer to it as a blind yes. The student application is, yes, I'm coming, before their application is even read. The college understands that this student is coming if they are accepted. Now, that doesn't guarantee they will be accepted because they still have the same, they have to meet the requirements of the school academically. And you have to meet, check all the boxes of what they're looking for. But if you do, and you get your decision, the expectation is that, yes, you're coming. So it makes me very nervous because there's no guarantee that you're going to have the financial means to accept this offer. So I always have very long-winded conversations about this with students before they sign on the dotted line. Okay, so that's early decision 1 and 2. So early decision 2 is a recent, like within the last 5 years or, maybe a little longer. Some schools, not all, have this early decision 2. And so now you can't do early decision 1 and early decision 2 to the same school, of course. You can only apply once per educational cycle, academic cycle, to a college. But say you wanted you wanted to apply to, I don't know, UPenn, early decision, one, and then you weren't accepted. And you said, okay, now I want to do NYU, early decision 2. You could do that. But you have to wait until the early decision 1 applications come out and you get your decision. If you got in, then you're done and you're withdrawing everything. And if you are denied, then you're free to apply early decision 2 to another school, should you choose. Same criteria applies, that you're saying yes blindly, and the expectation, if you're accepted, that you will attend. Okay, next slide, please. All right. Okay, so there are different types of applications that, for our purposes, the majority of schools that students apply to use the Common Application, which is aligned with our Naviance, making it very easy and easy for everyone. But with the Common Application, there are 20 slots, which, if the research is done well, is more than enough. It's really too many, but definitely more than enough. There's really no reason anyone should have to apply to more than 20 colleges. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. And it just kind of makes me feel like maybe there wasn't enough research done and enough spread with the safety, target, and reach kind of mantra. You can't have all reaches on your application, on all your applications, and expect that that's going to go well. So, but Common App is the most utilized in our school. Students that want to apply to a school like MIT or Georgetown, they are school specific. All the University of California schools have their own application process. So you really have to, as you're doing your research, see what they're asking for. Most students will know that Georgetown, MIT, and University of California, because those are popular destinations, that they're school specific and they know how to navigate that. But if you never heard about that before, now you hear about it. And it's something to pay attention to. So there's also 2 other methods, application sites actually. So Coalition and the Universal. Universal is shrinking in size. It was something that the Ivies kind of put together a few years back. It started out with, at least 75 schools that were involved, and now they're shrunk down to 50. And amongst those 50, they also use other avenues to apply. So it's not something that any of our students so far have used that I have been aware of. But the Coalition, once they go over 20 on the Common App, some students go over to the Coalition. And what I will say about that is it complicates the process. And you have to communicate with the college office. Anything that you're doing, the colleges that you're adding and subtracting to the Common App, and the colleges that you have put over to the Coalition because you're running out of space. There's no way for us to know if you don't tell us. So communication is the key from this point forward. If you haven't gotten used to communicating with the college office, because we're open to any grade level and students come in all the time and ask questions. Get comfortable coming in and asking questions so that you understand the ins and outs of the process. Okay. We'll talk more about the Common App and Naviance and all that kind of stuff as it becomes more of a reality. But now it's just like an overview of what to expect. Next slide, please. Okay, so I already talked about it. So we can move on from this slide too. All right, so financial aid. Everyone applies for financial aid, whether or not you feel you make too much money and you're not going to get anything anyway. It's part of the process. The schools use that data to help them determine what they're going to offer. So if you don't provide them with the data from the FAFSA, then you're really putting yourself in a place where they have an incomplete picture of who you are. And they're not going to be able to make a financial offer to you, a package offer. So it's important, and it's free. So it's definitely, although it's can be a little overwhelming and daunting as everything else, they have simplified it greatly. And I have to say that, once I got over the glitches of the initial rollout, it's been pretty okay. And students have been managing to get through it fairly easily. So one of the changes that they made to that is that they increased the number of schools that you can add to your application, your FAFSA application, from 10 to 20. So again, back to that 20 number. And again, we'll talk more about the ins and outs of that as it gets to be closer to your reality. But it is an important thing to keep in mind, and it gets done every year, which is something that is always surprising to students, that it's a yearly thing. But it is. First time is always the hardest because you're inputting everything. And then after that, you're just adding in the current data that they need. Everything else is already in there. Okay. And then the CSS profile, which is through the College Board, is for private schools. So if you're interested in applying to a private institution, they could require the CSS profile. They don't all, but a good majority of them do. And again, as you're doing your research, you're going to find out about that. So the CSS is not free. So the College Board has a fee that is attached to every application, every profile that they send out for you. So, I don't know what the price will be next year, but it has been steady at $15 per college. And if there's any requests for a fee waiver, it would go through the College Board, not the college office. So again, when you're doing your research, put a little column for do they require the CSS profile. Okay, so then you have TAP, Tuition Assistance Program, and that's only for New York State residents. If you are attending school in New York State, you're eligible to apply. What I say to students is that you never know. You may say to yourself, I'm not going to go to school in New York. I'm going to go out, whatever. But you don't know. Things change. And the worst that's going to happen is that you apply and then you go to school out of state and you don't get the access to the grant money. But you have it available if perchance you don't go out of state. It's there ready for you. Or if you decide that you are overwhelmed being away and you're coming back home, after one semester, and you want to start into a CUNY or something, that money is right there for you. So it's worth filling it out. It's very simple. And usually you'll be prompted to do it at the end of your FAFSA. It will say, oh, now that you've completed the FAFSA, perhaps you would like to continue on to do your TAP. And I just say, do it. Put in any New York school that you have the vaguest interest in, and then that will enable you to complete your application. And if you end up in New York, you just go back into your application and change it to the actual school that you will be attending, if it's different from the one you put in there. So it doesn't, as long as it's a New York school, it'll allow you to fill out the application. And again, we'll talk more about that as it gets more real. Next slide, please. Okay. So for junior year, this is my wish for you, that you take this game plan seriously, and that you're going to begin your research in your colleges, and especially if you're looking for a special program. People looking for pharmacy programs and all nature of things. PA programs, nursing programs, accelerated medical programs, whatever. There's so many different options. So start your research. And when I'm saying this, I'm not saying you have to have a special program, but if you have something in mind or something strikes you along the way, now's the time to get the research on that and begin making that list of colleges that you are serious about. You can start with like a big list and then whittle it down, safety, target, reach. And what I say constantly is that safety school should be a school that you would be reasonably happy to attend. Not a school that you say, oh my goodness, I hope I never have to go there. But I'm putting it down because Divine is going to be saying, where's your safety? No, that's not how it works. There are lots of wonderful schools that will be a safety for you, but maybe, a target or a reach for someone else. So keep your mind open. There's so many schools to choose from. And keep that list, targets should be a solid chunk of schools. Safeties should be a solid chunk of schools. Reaches should not be. There should be 2 or 3 schools that in a perfect world, if the stars aligned and everything is just wonderful, you're going to get into. But it's a reach. It's a reach for some schools are reaches for everyone. When you're looking at the Ivies, nobody's guaranteed a seat in an Ivy. It's sometimes I feel like they take the applications, throw them up in the air, and however they fall. It's very hard to understand what any college is looking for any particular year, especially when they have 80,000 or more applications coming across their desk for maybe 2,800 seats. It can feel quite random. So it should be something you absolutely do for those schools that you really want, but you shouldn't be doing, 5 or 6 reach schools. It's way too much work because you have to do extraordinary writing in order to get that application, to get the attention of these people who are reading all these extraordinary applications. So it's a lot of work. And time, I say it often, is our most precious commodity. How you spend it, that's how it's gone, and you never get it back. So use it wisely. Understands what they are requiring. As I said earlier, the SAT is becoming more of the norm again, but not universally. Some schools have moved towards just extending out, a couple of years. They're still testing optional. They haven't made their decision if they're going to stay there or not. Some schools have decided absolutely we're back, and that I will say mostly is the Ivy Leagues. They're definitely they need another data point to discern one student from another. So for them, it's absolutely back. California schools are test free. So not only they don't want them at all. There's no place for you to put them. They are not part of the process at all. So you have to know that, do the research, and that's another thing that you want to keep track of. And I mentioned this to the students in person, and I want to make sure to put it on this this meeting tonight again. If you have not taken the SAT yet, thank you. It's too early. The best time for juniors to take an SAT is in the spring of their junior year. It's the ideal time. Students don't fully appreciate the amount of maturity that happens from September of junior year to March of junior year. It's amazing. We see it as educators. Each year, the leaps are just vast. So you're more mature, you have taken more rigorous courses, your knowledge base is increased, you understand, how to take a test, how to keep yourself calm while you're taking the test, all of that. There's no reason to rush through this getting the SAT over with. Keeping your GPA high is absolutely what you need to do. Challenging yourself to do other activities, definitely should be doing that. But studying for an SAT, I would hope that you are not spending your time doing that. There's plenty of time. You can take it in the fall, in the spring. Hopefully it'll be free again this year. It's been free the past bunch of years. And that will give you a nice baseline. And then you decide, maybe you score so well that you're done. But if you feel like you would like to try it again and get a little higher score or whatever it is that you need to do, you have 2 more times that no one is going to bat an eye about. But if you go, and I'm talking about the colleges, not anyone else in the world, but the colleges are used to students taking up to 3 SATs, and they never have anything to say about that. Once you go over 3, they start to wonder, why are you doing this? So just, for yourself, better uses of your time, and you don't want to draw negative attention to yourself. So 3 is the magic number. A lot of students I spoke to yesterday had not taken it, and I was so happy because now they can wait until the spring, and they'll still have many opportunities because they give that SAT all the time. So not to worry that you're not going to have a chance to take it. All right. So know the testing requirements of the school and for yourself. Maybe an ACT is a better test for you than the SAT. And does the school take either or do they want both? What are they looking for? Try to whittle down this idea of how you're going to apply early decision, restrictive early action, or regular decision. There's no wrong answer, but you have to know yourself. If you're a procrastinator, then maybe the early is going to be stress provoking for you. So think about it, or make a commitment to, if you're going to apply early, that you start your applications in August, which will be another conversation we have at the end of the year. You probably get tired of hearing from me. Make sure that you schedule your testing to meet the application and scholarship deadlines, and maintain your academic excellence right through the end of junior year, and then continue all the way till June of senior year, because we're sending out, I must have sent out, I don't know, a couple of dozen progress reports for seniors who had applied to early decision from their schools. Oh, we want to know where, Johnny is right now. So please send us a progress report, which is why we even have one in November. So understand that they want that. They may want that. And definitely the mid-years go out in February. And even if you were accepted early decision, they still want that mid-year report. Are you the same student that they accepted? And then in June, they will look one final time. And if you are not the same student as you were, then you put in jeopardy the offer that you were given. So it matters all the way through senior year. So just keep that tucked away in the back of your head. Next slide. All right. So the other piece of it is there's all kinds of scholarships that are available from many different ways. But College Board in particular has scholarships, and you can keep your eyes open for them as you're visiting the College Board for other reasons. Have some kind of summer activity in place, because this is the world we live in. Everyone expects that your time is filled with something. Now, we have had many, many students involved with the study abroad with CIEE program, and that is a wonderful way to spend 3 weeks of your summer. Students have even managed to do the study abroad all around the world, and also some kind of internship, because the study abroads are like usually 3 or 4 weeks, and then they can manage to put something else in there if they wanted to. So, but whatever activity it is, summer youth, what else do they have? The Summer Design Institute. If you have an internship already lined up, if you're in SERP and you're staying with SERP, which is what I would encourage, you'll have all kinds of activities that you have to do during the summer. So make sure that there's some plan. There's colleges offer summer programs. I feel like every other day I'm posting something online about a college offering a summer, either a virtual or an in-person summer opportunity. So have something in place by the spring for yourself. And a resume. It's really important to have a resume, and a college resume, not a work resume. And it doesn't need to have your, and I'm going to be meeting with all of you one-on-one I'm going to try to start in the middle of January to get through the class in a timely fashion. But you need a resume that has all your activities, so that when you have the opportunity for an interview for a college, then you have your resume all prepared. You're going to go with your transcript, and if they say, oh, do you happen to have your transcript with you, or would you have a resume? You can have it right there. And it helps you keep track of what you have done from freshman year, actually the summer before freshman year, until you go off to college. That resume, you need a resume for life. So if you get in the habit of putting one together, it's going to be just a helpful tool for you. So start doing that. And then register for any virtual college fairs if you are interested, open houses, plan for visits. The Javits Center, I don't think I mentioned that earlier. They have a huge college fair. It's a little on the overwhelming side, but if you want to, immerse yourself in the world of college opportunities, that might be something you want to do as well. And in May is when you're going to start requesting letters of recommendation from your teachers. It's way too early. Please don't bring it up to anybody now. They are still helping our seniors. So hold off, but keep in mind that it's going to be from your junior year. So start looking around with the teachers that you have, see who, you feel like you're bonding with and you're doing well, and you have building some kind of rapport with them, so you can ask them for a recommendation in the spring. And we recommend 2 letters, because most colleges either want 1, some want 2, some want none. And if you need more than that, then there'll be a process for you to get permission to do that. But for now, keep in mind that 2 is a good number, and 1 from each discipline. So 1 from the humanities and 1 from STEM. And then most importantly, everything is important. I'll say most importantly for everything, that you create for yourself a professional email address that is only for college. You're not going to use it for personal correspondence. You're not going to use it for any other purpose. It is going to only be for college. And that's for a number of reasons. 1, you're going to be inundated. Once you start showing interest in colleges, you're going to be inundated with emails. And so you want to have one place that you look for all your college information. And 2, sometimes students think they can use their nycstudents.net. You can't, because that's going to disappear as soon as you graduate. So it's not a good plan. So just, whatever email, lots of people use Gmail. It's easy enough to set up an account that, sounds relatively professional. So no silly things in there like maybe you did when you were first setting up an email account. This is something that you're going to dedicate just to college. So you can do that now, but definitely during the course of junior year, make sure that you do that. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so as we wrap up tonight, I hope some of this information is going to help you. It will definitely be repeated in different ways. If you have particular questions that you want to ask, then that's something that, you can come in and speak to me one-on-one. You can always email me. I answer all my emails. And so I see a question that what's the maximum number of colleges they can apply for? So I think, if I may, just rephrase the question instead of the maximum number that they can apply for, and what's the maximum number they should apply for? Because again, every application has to be taken seriously. So you can't just open up a college application and finish it in one night. It's up. If your child has friends who are seniors, they will tell you the amount of work that goes into each application. And depending on the rigor of the school that they're applying to, the expectations are very high for the quality of that application. They don't want to see anything that, is copy and pasted from something else, or that is just utilized like a generic kind of a response to something. Things have to be really tailored to the particular school. So I would hesitate to say that there's a maximum number. I've had students give me very high numbers. And then somewhere along the line, they're so overwhelmed because they can't keep up with their academic classes because they're busy with their 40 applications they're trying to complete. And you're going to go to one school at the end of the day. So it's the same kind of thing. It's a lot of work. And I can't emphasize that enough. And the early action and early decision are November 1st. So we come back to school in September, and there's always all kinds of holidays in September and even in October. So it's not like they're full months. And then all of a sudden, it is it is November 1st, and you have 10 earlies that you're trying to do. So it's a lot of work. I would not want to put that out there that, you could certainly do that many. In a perfect world, I would say that you're going to, if you're doing an ED, you're doing 2 or 3 EAs. That would be my perfect world. Do students do it? Some of them do, but not everybody. So now I've had a couple of questions come along the way. So all I can see is what I see right now, and it's about the 3 SATs. So they're going to take the highest scores from each test and put them together. So that's why they don't want you to go over 3, because then what are they going to do? They're going to add them up and divide them, and then you could end up with a lower score. So, okay. So the college applications process begins in general, August. So in the beginning of August, the colleges will open up the new application cycle because they're still processing things right through July, for students who are coming into the process late. So usually August 1st, is when the new applications for that new application cycle will open. Is there any other questions? Okay, so all the Common App stuff, you can't do it now. That's also August. And we're going to meet like this again in June to give you all that kind of information. Sometimes students mistakenly open up a Common App early, and then they have to go through all kinds of challenges to remove it because it's in the wrong year. So there's so much financial aid applications. The Excelsior is absolutely one of them. Scholarship Plus is also another, and they come out. I think I just posted. Well, you can't do it at this point in time. You have to wait till they come out for your particular year. So the Excelsior comes out in the spring of the senior year, and the Scholarship Plus just came out, I think in early December of this for the seniors. So you have to wait until for those New York things, and hopefully they're in the budget for next year. We have to see how things play out with that. Okay, but there is this question is about early decision. When do we have to fill out the FAFSA? The FAFSA opens up October 1st. And if you do an early decision, early action, that's when you fill it out, October 1st, because they're going to look for it as soon as they're done, reading the applications. So you want to, as soon as it opens and it's available, you should do it if you intend to do these earlies. Any other questions? I know there's probably millions of questions, but we can, again, my office is always open, and we have a little window of quiet time now with the majority of things for the seniors are done, and we're just finishing up a few things before we start with meeting with the juniors. But as I meet with the juniors, certainly is an opportunity to talk about more of this. And from January on, it's the juniors that have my attention. So lots of chances to ask questions. All right. So thank you for coming. And remember to continue to breathe and ask questions and communicate with the college office. Thank you so much. Have a good night.